Blaxploitation rose in the 1970s and continued on till it slowly fell out in the 80s, with lingering influences popping up now and then. The genre carried many bold themes that had previously been avoided, such as sex, crime rings, and drug use, and focused broadly on expressing these stories rather than trying to impress people. Some of the major pieces from the Blaxploitation era include Cotton Comes to Harlem, Sweetback's Baadaaasssss song, Blacula, Superfly, and Shaft. Many of these works were done by the famous Gordon Parks. Parks was one of the biggest Blaxploitation figures, also being a prominent writer and photographer. One of the first big Hollywood studio films to be directed by an African American was actually done by Gordon Parks and was called The Learning Tree. Gordon Parks also directed Superfly, one of the big successful films from the Blaxploitation movement. It was actually one of the few films to be outsold by its own soundtrack.
He's Superfly, yeah, Superfly.
The 1948 Supreme Court Antitrust Act, United States versus Paramount Pictures, Incorporated, sought to break apart the monopoly that the Paramount Corporation was quickly becoming. In a landmark decision known as the Paramount Decrees, studio companies were separated from the theaters they distributed to. This removal of exclusive exhibitions allowed for more independent films to be selected for screening, among those Van Peebles' Sweetback in 1971, and later that year, Gordon Parks' Shaft. However, considering their content, it seems likely that neither of those films would have made the cut were it not for the 1968 rejection of the Production Code, which opened a window for the mature themes seen in many Blaxploitation films. A year later, the critical acclaim of Gordon Parks' 1969 film, The Learning Tree, would give investors an incentive to produce more profitable, dramatic renditions of the ongoing racial struggle in the black community.
The largest influences of Blaxploitation were French New Wave, Italian Neorealism, and the race films movement. The qualities from French New Wave that influenced Blaxploitation were the rejection of both cinéma de qualité and strict narrative. The films also focused on expressing rather than impressing. Blaxploitation also used stylistic techniques such as jump cuts, rapid editing, natural lighting, and mobile cameras. The main influences from Italian Neorealism included on-location shooting, non-professional actors, and stories focused around everyday people. The race films movement allowed blacks to respond and create their own alternative cinemas. Black cinema was a response to a film industry that usually featured only white casts and crews. All black casts increased in the 30s and 40s, but big-budget Hollywood films wiped out independent black cinema until the 60s and 70s. The race films movement was able to tap a large, previously ignored and underrepresented market, which is one of the same reasons that Blaxploitation was able to flourish in the 70s.
Before I have to kill somebody, before somebody ices me.
Blaxploitation's effect on film was that it allowed for African American actors and actresses to become commercially viable in major roles in films. This allowed for actors like Samuel L. Jackson and Denzel Washington to become prominent in the film industry. The lifestyle of African American actors and actresses became of interest to those in cinema, with films like Django Unchained to 12 Years a Slave, making films about African American history and life profitable for the masses.
Good Lord, I'll manage them all.
I will survive! I will not fall into despair! I will keep myself hardy till freedom is opportune!